Good morning, I'm Alicia Morgan from Rutgers University Libraries, and Reagan asked me to talk a little bit about the policies we're using, because as opposed to some of our other speakers, we're actually a university that's trying to create a data repository for the university, and we'll talk a little bit about the history and some of the challenges we're running into, or what we're trying to work through. I'm sure a number of you are going through the same things. I joined Rutgers in fall of 2010. Initially was working with the Vice President for Research because he was anxious to address the NSF data management plan requirements. And as I got to know Rutgers, I saw that the only place that really had a chance of doing something like this on an institutional level was in libraries. So last summer, we looked at things, and I actually switched over to the library staff last summer, and am partly charged with not so much the technical side. I'm not a librarian by training, but some of the outreach and the marketing to faculty and the promotion of this concept of data management. And that, of course, as we all are hearing, is becoming the biggest problem about it. So let's go through some of the history here. Again, Rutgers has the great opportunity of having had a grant back in 2004 to create an institutional repository. Initially it was for a state repository of state stuff, state history, digital records, images from the 1850s from New Jersey, that kind of thing. And along with that repository, somebody had the really good idea, actually Grace Agnew and some others, to let's create a repository for the campus. So in 2006, the first version was released, and again, as you can see, it's a fairly, not that different than a lot of others. The idea is for perpetual access to Rutgers records, a framework that would allow for an extensible framework to allow for the preservation of other materials, in addition to the standard PDF, text documents, that kind of thing. And then also to allow for the finding of things and connection of content. So, basically, at this point, where we are today is a lot of this has been grant funded, to be very honest, which is wonderful. That leads up to the question later of how do we keep it going. We have about theoretically a 47 terabyte system we have in place today. It's not all in use yet. That just went online last summer, with an architectural capability of 400 terabytes as it is today. Everything is open source software using the Fedora repository as a foundation. At Rutgers, a number of software titles have been developed, or a suite of tools that include the RU4 repository itself, the user interface, the connections between data. The Open WMS, workflow management, is actually a fairly critical piece of the puzzle, because it both automates the ingestion process, or I won't say automates, streamlines the ingestion process, encourages consistency in use of standardized vocabulary for metadata, and it provides a lot of cues for the person ingesting the data to know what to do with it or how to describe it. EDT is a tool that has been released to allow for faculty or graduate students to self-deposit their theses and dissertations. And then RU Analytic is a new tool. I don't have a web page for it yet, but it is up there in some of our projects. It's being used to allow others to comment and annotate video content today. So let me just go into the conceptual layout. There's a lot of red here, but that's our comment. So you see we've got the user input that goes into that workflow management system, which processes the input, kicks out things that don't work. It does a lot of error checking at that point, creates a standard XML, and then goes to the repository. So that's the input side. And then from the user point of view, we have several portals that have been created that all go into the same ultimate storage location. So you've got the Fedora repository, the user collection services, and some of those tools include the New Jersey video history, the New Jersey Digital Highway, which is the original project, and then the electronic thesis and dissertations. In addition to that, now there's a new portal that just we're working on, which is the RU research side of things, which is designed for the easy access to the research data. But it all really sits in the same container. Since the original RU Core service came out, again, we had this foundation. We've moved to the ability to preserve or ingest almost anything that you can digitize. Video, code books, software, instrumentation, other digital content. Again, the workflow management system has been enhanced to allow for the ingestion of other types of data. We now can support the embargoing of data as required, basically whether it's due to patent or the desire for someone to continue to write some papers off of this data before it becomes released. Again, this is a persistent URLs and handles. That is something that certainly the research office was interested in, and along with the question of having this data findable via more user-level tools like Google or Google Scholar. And those are things that were really added just the handles have been there a while, but the Google Scholar was just done last year, a year and a half ago. And then the access to, we're in the middle of, actually it's working on the test server, it's not released yet, the availability of controlled access to resources. So you can control who can get to things if you need to. And again, right now, some of our usage right now, we're up to about over 200 downloads in academic year 2011, which is a fairly 500% increase from the year before, so it's picking up some interest. So given this infrastructure that already existed for papers, documentation, video, really the original purpose was documents and images. We realized it could be expanded. So now we're looking at this question of the NSF requirement for data management, saying this is a great resource to be used to try to meet that need. And so we're taking that, and we now really have a RU research service, which includes both those hardware and software tools, plus the people to make it all work. That includes people like Ryan Womack, who's our research data librarian, myself, all of our research librarians have been going through metadata training classes this academic year, so that we can responsibly address the needs we have. Again, these are we've got the portal. And again, I didn't want to demonstrate things, and we don't have a lot of time, so I just wanted to kind of go through what we're working on Friday afternoon. I'll be able to show some pieces of it if there's interest. But I'm really looking for ways of making this meaningful to the research community as well, including things like the creation of a portal, so Mike Pisani can look up all of his content on RU Core in a nice presentation, and maybe even plug that into his website. And again, the last thing is the people side of things, which is the hard part. The outreach to faculty and staff, the data management plan assistance support, and help with the whole data life cycle. One thing we're running into is that we're getting a lot of phone calls. Well, gee, I've got a grant due Friday and it's Wednesday, and I need a data management plan done. And you're kind of like, there's only so much I can do for you right now. That's a cultural thing. We've talked about that already. So that's something that is going to be a challenge. But we're getting there. But right now, if you look at where things are, we've got the data set, which is used in projects, and everything has an event in the RU Core system. There's a record for the creation of it, a publication event. It's all event-based metadata, and the idea is that things can link together and be flexible. So now, policies that we're dealing with, these are a list of policies that actually already exist on our website for RU Core. And we already have answers for them with RU Core. Who can deposit things? What do we do with it? How long does it last? Can things be embargoed? And intellectual property requirements. We have all the forms for, you know, affirming that you have the right to this data and user restrictions. The question is, a lot of these policies that are there today really need to be, are being looked at again in the context of adding data, because they don't all work the same way. And we don't have that. We don't have those answers yet, but that's something that we're working on, because we're finding that things get more challenging once you start throwing in the questions of data. It's not just a publication that somebody wrote and it's storing it, and that's the end of it. Some of the questions are, things like the diversity of data types. The WMS system that ingests data was pretty much designed for as different video types, different image types, JPEGs, documents, text, Excel. As we're seeing, we're getting interest from faculty who are doing things like the scans of primate teeth in anthropology, and they're using proprietary software that doesn't easily, one thing we've talked about in the past is that we would keep things current. For example, if you give us an Excel file, we'll create a text version of it, we'll keep it current as they move to new versions of Excel. When you give us proprietary software and proprietary data, we can't do that in the same way. Again, as you get more complex with these projects, metadata librarians are great. It's amazing. I've been incredibly astounded. But they don't know all the details of primate tooth anthropology, that kind of thing. This third one is a huge one, at least I've run into, and I don't know if this is consistent everywhere else, that several senior research executives, at least one, has said, I don't want anybody spending more than an hour, any faculty member spending more than an hour to store their data. That's a challenge. So that's it. And then how do we deal with the project data sets that are used in multiple projects? Do we catalog them once? Do we store them twice? One for each project? There are all these little things that come up that complicate things. Even a lot of researchers, for example, in machine learning, they use data sets that are out there that in their field get published, and they're just sort of, here, use this data set. Well, if they use that data set, create an algorithm to analyze a problem, for example, how do we treat that? Can we ingest that data set, even though it's the source data that was used in this research? Do we have rights to put that in our repository? Do we just point to it and hope it stays there? All sorts of issues. So, and obviously, the permanent embargo, that we have been talking about, even to create a dark archive, an archive that's not visible on the web, to preserve the data, even if it's not publicly available. So, we've got a lot of issues that are coming up. I don't have any of the answers. I'm hoping I'll hear some. And that's about it for me today. Thank you.